We're going to build the best football program in the SEC Conference.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
The kick, it's been blocked again! How about it? It's been blocked again! It's going to heat one deep down the field. It's going to be to the goal line. It's going to be gone! It's a touchdown! And the Gators have won the game! Tyreek Cleveland! How about it? I can't believe what I just saw! Dropping back to throw. Pops and fires the ball over the middle. It's Dory! It's Dory! Got a touchdown! Dory's got a touchdown! Oh, man! Dory's got a touchdown! Ahmad Black, in his final game as a Gator, takes it all the way home and sends Urban out the winner.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Stadium Miguel. It's your favorite Uncle Silk.
It's Dan.
And Delatorre, just the gymnastics pop-up show since nothing else is going on.
Yeah, man.
Big meet tonight.
Not the same corner, not the same time, but we got to some pop-up vibes for y'all, man. Talk about some gymnastics and flips.
Yeah, no, super excited. Nick's talking about big meat right before we get in really to the heart of the show, you know?
Yeah,
so,
we're talking about gymnastics, so make sure that's an MEET, Dan.
Very good. Well, gentlemen, it's a pleasure to meet with you on Friday. I know we were going to slated to do this yesterday, but it's an exciting time in Gator Nation. The Gators are currently without a quarterback in this recruiting class. Certainly a lot of excitement about the name of Jaden Rashada from California, the 4-star, 5-star quarterback that was slated to be on campus. When we met on Monday, all things looked relatively good. I think that there were some rumors that there were some things, but for the most part, things looked good. It's amazing how fast things can fall in front of our eyes over the next 3 or 4 days. So to catch you, the fan up, obviously you guys have all heard, but just to give you a general idea, on January 3rd, Jaden Rashada played at the Under Armour All-American game. He was slated to enroll at the University of Florida on January 10th. He is there is a drop ad period at the University of Florida that goes until 5 p.m. today, which is January 13th. It is now 3:11 p.m. We have 1 hour, 49 minutes before Jaden Rashada would no longer be eligible to enroll for this semester at the University of Florida. January 10th, there was some discussion about him not yet being on campus. There was some discussion about what the ultimate reason was. On January 11th, we started to hear more information about it not being necessarily related to transcripts or an academic issue, not that he couldn't qualify, but just waiting on grades, but that it was NIL related. On January 11th and January 12th, a whole hell of a lot of conversation came out. There was a discussion on January 11th there was a report from an On3 writer that said Jaden Rashada had asked out of his national letter of intent. Harlan Rashada, Jaden's father, refuted that. Jaden Rashada also refuted that. But here we are on January the 13th. Just a bit before the end of drop ad. Jaden Rashada is not on campus. He is, for all of our understandings, out in California right now and likely will not be enrolling. So, gentlemen, obviously a lot to digest here, but let's get started here. Nick, from a story perspective, from a conversation perspective, just kind of give me your high-level thoughts, and then we'll dive into some of the finer details here.
It's been quite a week. This hasn't been just this week. This isn't a 48-hour issue, a 72-hour issue. This stuff goes back to the reason why we were waiting, over an hour for Billy Napier's press conference on early signing day. It would appear, based on what's been put out there right now, that there was overpromising and under-delivering. And now there's negotiations to get back to a place where both parties are comfortable. I guess you have to then start asking the question, has it gone too far? Has there been enough damage done to the relationship? Is the public perception something that you can get over or you cannot get over? What are the numbers that we can then agree to make both sides happy? There is a 5 o'clock deadline. Not to say that football players get treated differently. I think though, if they were to come to an agreement at 7 p.m. tonight, let's say,
you think they could work some magic?
I think there could be a waiver figured out, and he could be, take a flight this weekend and enroll Monday if that were the decision that the Rashada family wanted to make.
A lot of discussion here. There is a lot of, I do want to take into consideration that there is a lot of hearsay. There is a lot of factual or infactual information that out there. There's infactual information that has been published. There is a full and complete story, and there's very few people that know that full and complete story. So I will say, please exercise caution when reading and understanding facts. This isn't to say that we are trying to withhold information from you or that we aren't sharing, but conversations that I've had with Nick, conversations that I've had with Silk and we've had together, conversations that we've had with other people, there is a lot of piecing together, and hopefully you have enough puzzle pieces. But if you don't know the complete picture of all of the puzzle pieces, it's like putting a puzzle together upside down. Pieces can fit together, but if you don't know every single piece that you're missing, you potentially might not have the full story here. But Silk, kind of want to get your idea or your thoughts on kind of where we are right now, and then let's get into some of the files after that.
I think it's just messy, bruh. And you know what I'm saying? Not the soccer player. It's just messy, man. The entire situation. I don't know, like you say, I don't know the contractual details. Where's the misunderstanding in the contract? Any of that? I don't know any of that. I heard some things, just like we've all heard some things, but I'm not going to stand on anything that I haven't seen. I haven't seen any contracts, so I'm not going to move on rumors. But I just think it's all messy. And I mean, we seen some signs of this. We knew the NIL, all that was very important in the Rashada. I'm not saying it's wrong or right. You know what I'm saying? Like, that don't even matter. But that has been an important part of this recruitment. Even when he originally committed to Miami, it was a big thing of, and a lot of articles written about NIL and what was offered, the agents and lawyers. Like, my overall opinion, bro, it's just been like ongoing for a minute now. It took up like the entire 2022, and we're in 2023, and there's still a lot of dramatics around it, bro. So I just think as an entire outfit, it looks messy. NIL is super unorganized. It's costing Billy Napier a lot of traction, you know, and it's hampering his the start of his regime if you don't have a quarterback. And pretty much back-to-back cycles. You could count Max Brown, but you missing on quarterbacks back-to-back cycles. You gotta get blue chippers in here, man. So I think it's a big hindrance, but and it's also going too far. I don't know if you could bounce back from this. And we'll talk about the transfer portal options and what's some new guys in there. And we'll talk about that a little later. But I don't know how you bounce back from this. You know, you got national media involved, Fine Bomb, Josh Pate dropping stuff on it. And all of this is in the public eye because of, you know, the report that dropped that said that he was jumping into if all these negotiations goes down and he entered the portal or whatever happens, it could happen, but the mess makes it extra, and that's why I don't know if you could bounce back from it because of the mess. You could have contract disagreements happen in sports all the time. It happens in business. All of this ain't that serious. You feel me? It's business. And the only thing that made it messy was the public display of all the shenanigans that's happening now. That's my overall take on it. I don't know if they could bounce back from it, relationship-wise, him in the locker room with the other guys. It's a lot of dynamics that's a little off now. The vibes is off.
Yeah, and I think, you know, let's say, you know, you're going to make decisions, NIL, business decisions, and maybe you don't want to pay a left tackle $2 million because you think that messes up the locker room. I think players might look at that $13 million number now and be like, well, let's add a comma to my deal. Like, apparently there's money to be had. I think you do get away with
that number is absolutely bonkers. that number is absolutely, considering what quarterbacks that came to the University in Florida have done. You know, like it's some guys that came in with some high regards and been just out of here. You feel me? Imagine giving some kid $2 million or something crazy, and he's in a portal in 6 months or the next year even. Like, there's no return on investment. My bad, Nick. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think that number, I want to say that number is absolutely insane. I've heard that number before all this went down, and I was tweeting about it then. Like, I thought if that's true, it's insane.
I think now that number, yeah, like you said, is wild. But I think I don't think it affects a locker room as much if it's a quarterback. I think just the politics of football from the time you're in Pee Wee football, it's the quarterback. That's the position that gets the spotlight, the limelight. That's the position that gets paid the most when you get to the professional level. And name, image, likeness. I think name, image, likeness in theory is fantastic. I was at the Gator Collective event Wednesday, and it wasn't about the booster giving the girls $1,000. Like $1,000 isn't paying the mortgage, but it's just being recognized.
Mm-hmm.
That $1,000 will go, we'll take them out to dinner, pay for some stuff, fix a car. It's not nothing. It's just the getting recognized and talking to moms and dads of guys who play non-revenue sports. NIL can be great. I think where we're at now in football, and I don't know that we ever would have gotten it, in how it was written and intended based on, boosters and bags being dropped for decades. I mean, you can go back to SMU getting the death penalty. Guys were rolling around in sports cars at 17 to go to SMU. And you're getting inducements and you're getting paid for play across the country to give. I don't know what the return on investment is other than, a rich guy who's a booster who loves the school gets to brag about his school now.
I think I'm cool with pay for play, but the approach to it all and the criticism that's coming from even like with the Gator boosters, and I've been critical of just like more support. That I thought more support should be given, but all these articles and all this stuff is being written and everybody got their takes, but nobody just come out saying, yo, this is a negotiation and a straight up pay for play. Like, what are we talking? Like, everybody's criticizing the University of Florida. This is displaying. I'm glad it happened to the University of Florida for a lot of reasons. I think the only way to really rebuild something, you got to destroy it all down, man. And then there's just some, as we can tell, bro, this thing's not operating like it should be. So I'm cool that the way it's going is unfolding. But I think the takes around it to me, like out of left field. People are forgetting that this is name, image, and likeness, right? And we're criticizing staffs, coaches, and everybody else about a pay for play.
And for the most part, it looks to be a very illegal, like not just pay for play, very illegal contract negotiations, right? So let's talk a little bit about the pay for play idea and kind of where NIL structure as a whole is, right? So rewind 18 months or so, NIL legislation 20 months ago, whatever, starts to roll out across the country. Florida is one of the first to tackle the issues, and then it, sweeps across the country that you can now profit off of name, image, and likeness. All three of us on this exact show said that we are very excited that college kids would now have the opportunity to earn money on their name, image, and likeness. I think that we all thought that it would lead to some sort of inducement. We did feel like there would probably be pay for play. We also are not ignorant to the fact that there has been pay for play in college football for 50 plus years. I don't know the first person, but I'm sure somebody from Harvard in the early 1900s got some money, right?
Like 50 cents.
Yeah, that's right. So are you guys surprised how little NIL seems to be connected back to true name, image, and likeness, or how much inducement seems to be going on? How many deals seem to be happening with collectives, which I think, Nick and I had a conversation the other day. Love the idea of collectives, things that they work to connect fans and players. Probably not what the initial idea of what NIL was, right? You're not seeing huge national brands go in mass to sign college players. What you're seeing is a lot of rich, individuals or rich groups getting together, figuring out a way for them to just pay. And now these contract negotiations are very open and very public. Do you think that there is going to be because of the Jaden Rashada situation and what I would imagine situations that are going to happen after this, do you think this potentially changes NIL around the country?
Well, what would really change it is
It's a lawsuit, baby.
Is litigation. Things that are unmitigated often get litigated. I think there's too many people that sit in high, powerful seats that have too much to lose for this to go to court, to litigation. And that's the conversations that you're having. You're trying to find an amicable way out of this or an amicable way to repair the situation and to get him on campus. Those are the conversations that are happening right now to avoid going to a courtroom where then you have discovery and you can't hide these contracts. The contracts then come out. And if Florida's going to get dragged through this, hey, you took an official visit to Texas A&M. Let's see what you did and what they offered. You took an official visit to Ole Miss. Let's see what they did and what they offered. So there's a lot of people that stand to lose a bunch or potentially lose a bunch if this goes to litigation.
He ain't just negotiating with us. He ain't just negotiating with us. If that's the thing.
Florida did not bring a reported $13 million to the table as a first offer.
Yeah, just negotiating against themselves.
You know what? What about 15? Sorry about the low ball. So the issue is Congress. The NCAA fought this all the way to Congress and wanted Congress to help. And Congress not only did not help, they were like, "Hey, let's look at your antitrust status because we don't think that should be a thing anymore." Which then would open up the NCAA to getting sued. So the NCAA then just wiped their hands, washed their hands of it, and said, "Hey, have fun. Go ahead. We'll see how this works out." So the NCAA is a toothless dog in this. They're not reprimanding. They've put in laws or rules, and those aren't being enforced clearly. So I think the only way this would cause sweeping change is if it gets litigated. And I don't think. I mean, listen, this has been a very long week for me. Silk said he's glad it's happening at Florida. I wish it would happen to a school I didn't cover. That'd be awesome. It'd be awesome to watch this from the sidelines.
Yeah, no doubt. No, I don't want it to happen. There is no way any of this is gonna get fixed. We've been complaining about recruiting and just progress since Urban Meyer has left. Right, we just been firing coaches, hiring somebody every 3 years. And every time, like I've been saying, it's not just these coaches. It's the support, it's the care around the football program, and being late. We've been late on the facilities. We've been late on a lot of stuff, man. And like right now, even with NIL organization, we was the first to start, but right now we're late with being able to actually pay the damn contracts if you're going to make offers for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know what the who's wrong, who's right. That's just the overall take right now, but you needed some type of unfortunately, you needed some type of mishap like this, man, to get some real exposure on, how unorganized and how it's moving. Billy has no control over any of this. He's not an NIL. He can't talk about contracts, negotiate numbers. That's none of his stuff he could talk about, and he's having to deal with that. And just imagine this is what we seen what Billy had to deal with. So imagine what any other coach had to deal with administrative wise and program wise from that behind the scenes. It's just a lot going on, man. I think we just needed some chaos to get some correctness.
Do you think we had Linda Teeler on the show earlier this year? We talked a lot about NIL. We've had other folks from the athletic department on over the last year and a half when NIL has been a thing. Florida has always taken a very, very black and white, cautious approach on we're not going to operate in a gray area with anything to do with NIL. Obviously, we're seeing that there's a very long arm's length distance between the athletic department and NIL. Do you think that Florida's very black and white approach to not wanting to run a risk of getting caught or getting in trouble ultimately got them in a bind and got them in trouble?
No, I think what got him in trouble is not coming through on the deal, right? Not the shenanigans. Everybody's moving like this. Everybody's tampering in the portal. Everybody's paying for play. Like that's the vibes. What messed things up? I don't like. I mean, they supposed to be black and white. Like the pay for play is supposed to come from the boosters, not from the school. Like Saban is not negotiating that type of stuff. Bama got that thing figured out, and money flow a different type of way, and the coaches don't have to be getting their hands dirty like that. And that's how it's supposed to run. The school's supposed to be black and white, and it's a booster issue.
Sure. But then if that's true, is the fact that the way that the law is now set up that universities cannot, and I know that there's something brought up in front of the NCAA to allow the universities to get a little bit more involved in these discussions. Do you think the lack of any involvement by the universities or by the way that these laws were written by the state of Florida, the state of California, Texas, whatever, do you think their very blatant approach of keeping the university system out to try to protect the universities away from making deals on name, image, and likeness is the reason why Florida or other schools are going to find themselves in this exact same position?
I think that's just to avoid getting closer, taking another step to student athletes being employees. And then you're talking about the NCAA or universities having 401ks, having health insurance,
bro, they changing jobs like I did in my 20s right now, bro. They in the portal every week at a new job, like me in my early 20s, bro. Like give them jobs, make them employees, bro. These are professional football teams that so happen to have classes, bro.
Yeah, I mean, this is where Florida sits right now. Florida is the first major issue with NIL that we've seen very publicly. Is the first player that we know that has not enrolled because of NIL. We know that Florida structure from an NIL department has been rather I don't want to say unsophisticated, but maybe a little bit more discombobulated. You have a lot of different directions that players are that different groups are moving in. I know that they all play well together, but there seems to be different groups doing different things with a lack of real involvement. Do you think a lack of cohesiveness behind one major group or one major collective or one major donor or a singular group of people is part of the issue of why there wasn't money for Jaden Rashada right now, or why this deal ultimately fell through?
You asking me?
Yeah, just in general. Like, do you think a lack of cohesiveness behind with the fact that Florida has, at least off the top of my head, I can think of 4 different NIL groups out there that are, yes, somewhat working together, but for the most part, kind of operating separately?
Bro, I just think the numbers sound crazy. So once the numbers sound crazy to me, like there's so many other questions. Because how do you, who are you negotiating to get? How do you get to $13 million? If that's the number, that sounds crazy to me. I don't think that's sustainable. That's the word of the week on social media. I don't think paying a quarterback that hasn't proven a thing in at all. You know what I'm saying? He's a good quarterback with a high ceiling, but he hasn't proved anything to go earn. What world are we living in where somebody gets $13 million without proving a thing just for signing a piece of paper and showing up on campus? I don't think that's sustainable, bro. So I just think it needs like some structure and some format on the whole landscape of it all. You feel me? Before it gets out of hand, as we see it starting to get a little crazy, salary caps and that type of stuff are gonna have to be interjected in all of this, man. It's just not gonna be feasible for these millionaire and these rich boosters to be given millions of dollars. I got another question I want to ask you, Dan. I seen a take on the timeline, but it don't like how's it going to benefit these boosters giving these high school kids millions of dollars in the portal in a week? Like it's not sustainable, bro.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And that's something that you and I think we talked about it probably a year ago, right? About NIL and about some of the numbers we were hearing just about overall sustainability. You start to talk about ROI. You know, Nick, I know I've said it. I know Nick said it. Silk, you've definitely said it as well as on this show and on the Big Three Roll. Rich people don't stay rich by just giving money away. Right. There's a desire by a lot of people that have money to be at kind of the beginning stages of things, to be, you know, an early adopter, to be considered, hey, like, hey, I'm going to go in and I'm going to jump in. But the idea of building out a recruiting class of, let's just say you add everything together and make, numbers up, you're talking $5, $6, $7 million a year, right? If you included Jaden Rashada plus other players, right? That's a ton of money to constantly be fundraising and putting together every year without a potential return on that money, right? And I don't think people realize, especially because Jaden Rashada is not getting a sneaker like LeBron, right? Or MJ, right? He's not getting, his name put on a tennis racket or golf clubs like, a famous golfer or tennis player might, right? There's not that when it comes to name, image, and likeness for them, right? All name, image, and likeness that we've seen thus far is some cameo appearances and then a lot of rogue boosters selling products that aren't like true legitimate products, and they're just throwing it under a company name, or collectives raising massive amounts of money in hopes that they can continue to do so forever.
We going full gunner today, huh? We just snitching, huh? I like it.
Yeah.
What's your what I was about to say? What do you think about from a culture perspective, like with the way all this is playing out, like even in the recruiting process? Because Billy initially pulled the offer when it got a little messy with the NIL over the summer when he was initially committing. So from a cultural standpoint, like, because like it doesn't end. We got players on campus right now still asking for more money.
Yeah,
that's the game. I need to get more money on hitting the portal. That's the thing.
We saw it on what's today? Wednesday. We saw on Friday. We saw it on Wednesday. There's an issue Florida had to deal with on Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's been a messy week.
Did sloppy week. That played out in public? I thought it was just behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's a little bit behind the scenes, but I mean, I think that's why we're not going to say names. But I mean, that was as public behind the scenes as you're going to find.
Right. If you know. But it's a regular ongoing thing. So you have to build some type of culture because it's not happening at every program with teams are just like having to deal with that type of stuff in the recruiting process. When you're going after your sitting caller, you got to know that this guy is the anchor of your class. His mentality got to be the team first type of guy. And of course, like it's two sides to this, but this seems very like just heavily NIL driven. You feel me? In the future, you just got to know like that early in the recruiting process, like how much NIL is going to play, and are you going to be negotiating with us on signing day or after, like whatever may happen. Culturally, like what do you think about that?
Well, like I said before, I think quarterbacks are different. If you're giving, a wide receiver $10 million, I think you might have some funny looks, some crooked heads in the wide receiver room. I think guys will just understand that quarterbacks get paid more, but the number is like, okay, well, why is my deal only for X? If we had enough money in the coffers for this,
right?
So I think that's where you could get it. I don't think you would look at the player, your teammate, strange. I think you're looking at then the organization and okay, well, if that much money is available, there's so much difference between where I'm at and what I think I provide and what he's at and what he thinks they provide. So I think that's where you can get into some locker room stuff. But to me, that's more with a player and using a teammate to help them negotiate a new contract for themselves, not I'm jealous of what a quarterback got.
Like here's my thing. So said player who's supposed to be in like Wednesday that we were talking about, who did he go talk to when he said I need more money in my contract or I need more bread? Does he go to Billy and knock on the door? Like what the hell is going on and happening? Like from that standpoint.
I mean, yeah.
I stumped y'all, didn't I?
No, well, I just don't know how much snitching you want to do.
No gunner. My bad.
I don't know how much snitching
they
you want
going
to
to somebody. Like it has to be like a way this all goes down. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, how much of that do you deal with? Like how much of I'm trying to recruit a recruiting class. Like a lot of things going on. You got players that are saying, hey, such and such is getting paid this. I want this, and now I gotta like, who do I call? Like it's just weird business. I think you got like the culture of all this got to be policed. Right now it's the wild west, and it's gonna get messier and messier.
I think the collectives or businesses will handle that mostly, but coaches are definitely made aware of that. When guys come on visits, like, hey, people would bring offer sheets. Like, hey, here's school ABC. and this is what I get DEF. And if you're not in that ballpark, like, then thank you for the official visit.
Mm-hmm.
The cake in the hotel was nice, but I'm out of here.
The pancake box slapped, right? Listen,
why was he even on campus? Like, I got so many questions. Like, if because Pancake really wanted the bag. Like, why? Like, what type of games are we playing? Like, why is you bringing these guys on? You're in a battle of negotiating big bread with Ruiz, however you say his name, tomato.
Yeah.
You're negotiating back and forth between several players with guys that are seemingly throwing a lot of money around.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't even fulfill it. I just don't get it. That's why you're saying, like, how do we approach this? I'm just like, man, it's just weird business if that's the case. You know, all this is alleged. I don't have any contracts. I don't know exactly what went down. But if that's what happened, it's a lack of funds, then that's just weird to me, man.
So now you have to worry about public perception, right? Nick and I talked about this the other day, right? Like, what is the public perception of UF's NIL program right now?
I think both parties are worried about public perception. I think him as the recruit as well. I think a lot of people are looking at the situation. Like I said, it played out the entire year, you know. So it's a lot of perspective. Both are taking hits right now. And I'm not mad at the hit that we're taking, because I know what this university could be. You know what I'm saying? I know like the fruitile athletes, the natural resources we got right here, the money and power that's behind UF, the history. It just can happen. It's just unorganized and a mess, man. I know the fans tired of this shit. We don't want a new coach every 3-4 years, bro. It's getting old, dog. Like, people want to be able to invest in their team, to go buy season tickets and vibe, not to deal with the shenanigans and the coaches. And you don't really know what they're dealing with. Every coach that leave is saying, like, hey, watch the support. Like, they're giving like little snarky shit about just the support of the University of Florida and its boosters. And it's an easy fix. It's not that hard of a fix, bro. But something like this had to go down, because it's just been ongoing since Urban left. Even when Urban was here, Urban had the same complaints.
I agree with your thought there, Soak. I just don't know who leads that change. I don't know who the upset person is going to be. You know, Florida does having a new president, Ben Sass, that is just joined campus. I don't think that the athletic department is going to be his number one priority right now. I don't know. This is publicly a terrible look for Florida. It has gotten a lot bigger than kind of I thought it would, in terms of the way that national stories have picked it up, probably because there are some huge numbers like $13 million thrown around. But Florida needs change. This is a terrible, no matter what happens, something has to happen, right? You can't let a situation like this unfold and then just be like, well, you know, that sucks, and keep moving the way that it is, right? And I think that means that those that are leading NIL from a university perspective, those that are tied in and connected to that, you have now tied yourself in as a university with some of those collectives, offering advertisement, putting things up on the Jumbotron, sending emails out, putting out videos that say, hey, you know, we have this support, right? And then to have names of those collectives and have names of people involved being kind of drug in with everything else, like, you have to make a change, right? Like, and I'm not calling for anybody by name to be fired, but at some point in time, you have to look at it and say, hey, you just have to do something different, right? You can't operate the same way. And that's what I'm curious to see what does happen, because right now Florida looks terrible from an NIL perspective. I don't think that Florida is terrible from an NIL perspective, but if I am a coach and I am recruiting a DJ Lagway, if I'm recruiting anybody against Florida right now, I'm going to say, hey guys, that program over there that promised you, and this doesn't apply to anybody, but that program over there that's saying, hey, they're going to give you all this NIL money and all these NIL opportunities, just lied to a kid.
They flogging. They pump faking.
Yeah, I mean, college football circles are small to begin with, and NIL circles are smaller than that. If we're talking about Nick Saban for 15 years has been having to tell recruits, no, I'm not retiring next year. No, I'm not retiring next year. The fact now that at least that the public perception is Florida wrote a check that they were either unable or unwilling to cash, entered into agreement that they were unwilling or unable to cash. that's going to be used against Florida in recruiting. And again, this Billy Napier is not negotiating NIL contracts. This isn't anybody on the football staff that is negotiating, anyone on the coaching staff. Florida has people that, work in NIL in the Army.
Shout out to Ben Chase.
No, don't bring Ben. Ben's
not there yet.
One time for my guy being Chase for getting that gig though, man. Super dope.
Shoot, I don't even know where I was.
We talked about it. We talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about.
We're talking about. Sorry, I interrupted, Nick. You were talking about the staff that is there that aren't negotiating deals but are helping connect players with opportunities for NIL.
Right. But none of them are writing contracts, and none of them have the kind of cash to fulfill these deals. So it's a bad look for Florida, as Dan has said, and it's going to, I think, have repercussions in the future. Just with other collectives, agents, boosters. Hey, do you remember that Jaden Rashada thing, that mess that Florida had? Is that what you want to? Is that who you want to go into business with? Is that where you want to go to school? That this situation is going to cause Billy Napier and Florida to have to fight that perception for who knows how long now.
It's a tough situation for the kid too, right? Even if he does come to the University of Florida, right? Imagine the expectations of him coming in.
It fixes that, just fulfilling the contract, just paying people. That's all that fixes. It's fulfilling and coming through whatever you said you're gonna do. That's not a hard fix. So if you got $13 more million to give away next cycle, some kid's gonna say yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you want to throw away that type of bread, but only thing that fixes it is fixing it. You know what I'm saying? Like actually having the funds, getting organized, and doing what you got to do. Perception is what it is now. They wasn't gonna get this shit together by themselves behind the scene. They needed some help. So, God in the universe helped them out a little bit.
And the number 13, it's not like Florida's writing a $13 million check. That's over the course of 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Which is still insane.
It's also not like, he's not a salaried employee. You're not getting a check every week or every 2 weeks. You have to fulfill things. When we've had student athletes on the Gator Collective here, that's something they're doing, and they come on and then they promote the Gator Collective, and hey, they did something and they fulfilled part of their contract with the Gator Collective. So everyone's saying he's not worth $13 million. He's not getting a $13 million check. That would be a contract over the course of 3 years. Listen, still, what was that, like $3.5 million a year? Still a lot of money.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I think there's some upfront money here that's stopping them from getting to Gainesville.
Correct.
It may be playing out over 4 years, and there's a lot of language to that contract, but there is some upfront money that made Harlan say, I don't know, Playboy. We're going to vibe until some things happen.
Hey.
Yeah.
I'm asking for my money in escrow from now on, so need you to put that in escrow, make sure it's there.
Already.
We're still on a wait and see, right? With Jaden Rashada, there's still time. Personally, I don't see a situation in which Jaden Rashada is the quarterback for the University of Florida within the parameters of the situation that we have now. I do believe he is a young man that does really like the University of Florida, really does like Billy Napier. I just don't see this situation being one where he does end up in this class. With that being said, there are some names that, the entire YouTube chat is talking about right now. Walker Howard, former five-star.
There's only one name. Like that's the only name of a Porter quarterback that Florida would be able to go get or would need to get or would want to get.
Correct. Walker Howard, five-star. You will remember Florida tried to get him last year when Billy Napier had just a few weeks left to recruit. He commits to LSU, is there for a season. He is visiting, and as our understanding, Ole Miss and TCU this weekend. Florida will certainly try to get him in the running. I know that Billy Napier's relationship with Walker Howard goes back well, into the past from his time at the University of Louisiana. So certainly a name to be on the lookout for. But, that leaves Florida over the last few years without much in terms of the quarterback room. Your quarterbacks from a few years ago, Del Rio and Kitna, are both no longer on campus. Max Brown is
playing baseball.
Playing baseball. There you go. Jaden Rashada is not likely to come onto campus. You add in Graham Mertz, but you have to look at Florida's QB recruiting over the last 4 years and just wonder what the hell went wrong.
I like Walker. I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know what's the plan. Of course, there's some mutual interest. They got us in it with depth chart wise. I think we had the most favorable depth chart. Lane's returning the starter.
Mm-hmm.
TCU's original starter, who got hurt before Dugans took over, is back. So if he left LSU because of Jaden Daniels and Nussmeier being 1 and 2 on the depth chart and him being 3. So if it's competition, and we got a clear path to this thing, man, a real wide open competition here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much NIL is going to play in this, but there is a previous relationship, him living in Lafayette, Billy coaching in Lafayette being his first offer.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how it all plays out. And also enrollment wise, of course, we have our drop ad today, but he can still enroll later. That don't mean he has to be on today. I don't know what his plans are. They'll figure it all out. But a guy I want to see, if we get the last visit, if he visits those 2 this weekend and we get the last one, I'm gonna feel really good. You know what I'm saying? But I want to see us get a visit, and then my hype will rise up from there. Paul.
Yeah, I know that there was a Tennessee quarterback who entered the transfer portal today as well. You saw a number of names enter the transfer portal. Walker Howard will certainly be a name to watch out for. Florida does not currently have a visit scheduled that has been announced with him. Does he take a visit? I don't know. Would the relationship with Billy Napier, Ryan O'Hara, and the rest trump that? Again, something to look out for and watch for. I would imagine that Florida wants to see at least through the end of the Jaden Rashada situation. As much as I know, there is still an ongoing discussions. Florida is still trying to make it work. I know that there has been numbers thrown around to try to make it to make it work. But I know some people are digging them hails.
Got some better plans for y'all in that $13 million, man. Just pull that back in the reins. Jaheim Singletary, we got some guys in there we can go get, man. There's a lot of money to spread around, dog. I don't see that type of bread. Hope they figure it out, but I just think the vibes is off. It's hard to live up to this type of drama. There's very few players that went through the recruiting like this dramatic, that lived up to that type of hype and whatever.
There is a comment here that I wanted to bring up. If y'all admit nobody knows the numbers, why are we talking that Florida made false promises? That's reckless. Without talking specific numbers, I think all of us have talked privately about what those are. None of us have seen the contract. We do know that there was a contract that was signed that is not being upheld. So that's not reckless. That's true factual.
That's the beef.
Information, right?
Yeah,
that is. You can debate whether the amount of money that it is. You can argue a lot of things, but you cannot argue whether that's true or not. That is a 100% factual thing that did happen.
I mean, if the contract that was signed was being fulfilled, we wouldn't be having this pop-up show.
Jaden Rashada would be playing Madden, right?
He might be dropping college algebra right now to get a different class.
That's right.
Instead, he's in Pittsburgh, California.
Get the college algebra out the way first semester, man.
Bro, I took that. I took that 3 times.
Yeah,
it's tough.
Rough.
It was tough.
You got cheat better.
Clearly.
Clearly. If you taking a college class 3 times, you definitely got to cheat better, bro.
I was not tampering hard enough in my college algebra classes.
Oh my gosh, gentlemen, any final thoughts on Jaden Rashada before we close out?
Nah, no more thoughts on Jaden Rashada. Go get me a quarterback, man. Whether if Jaden Rashada works out, love that, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I just think the vibes is off, but I need a quarterback in this class. We don't get a legit quarterback, not no project or no random portal guy. We need a legit guy. 5-star status. Walker is that type of guy. And they got to figure this out, and it's just not on Billy. You feel me? He got put in a crazy spot. So that's my overall take. Figure this out. Y'all got us looking crazy in front of company.
Friends
is over, man.
All right, gentlemen. Nick, any final thoughts?
Need everyone to enroll at a Texas high school and start taking some online classes. And get DJ Lagway here in July.
Get Lagway in, man. I text y'all that, just not even knowing none of this was going down, bro. I text y'all like, yo, there's possibility that Lagway could probably reclassify. And niggas like, that don't make no sense. I guess probably, the universe works out.
The Lord works in mysterious ways. Oh man, are you guys? There's been a lot of talk. Are you guys surprised that there's not been any public commentary by UF to dispute anything? Or Yep, I agree. Yep.
No, Florida's never going to get, especially while they're still negotiating and still talking, and while the situation is still active, Florida's never going to come out and say anything.
Because it's illegal to negotiate with, or against the rules. I know he's in California, but it's against the rules to begin negotiating NIL deals before they're on campus. Isn't that true, Nick?
Yeah, but he signed an NIL deal in the state, in the great state of California. In Florida, high school athletes cannot. You would lose your high school eligibility. In California, you can. So that's how Jaden Rashada had already signed his deal, is because he was in a state that allows high school players to sign.
But that would be receiving NIL money for California, not for the University of Florida, correct? I'd have to read the law, not a California law.
It's a state. So a Florida company could pay a California kid.
Yes.
But is there carryover? Are you allowed to carry that through as
to the state of Florida? Yeah. I mean, by then he's a student. Once he gets here, then it don't matter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I would have deferred payments. I mean, the state income taxes in California are wild. Don't send a check right now, please.
Make a point.
Let me become a Florida resident.
Florida residency.
Let me get Florida residency. Yeah. Let me get Florida residency before you start sending cash that the governor of California is going to take 30% of.
You bad at math, but you know how to finesse.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we will see you at the same corner, same time on Monday. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining.
Hopefully with a resolution.
Yeah, I think there will be a resolution one way or another.
One way or another, it's going down.
Time's ticking.
I'm tired. It's been a long week.
Before you leave, if you're watching on YouTube, please just hit that thumbs up button for us. Please like and subscribe there. And we will see you guys same corner, same time next week.